So 3 Browns who need bounce back seasons in 2022. And this is according to brownsnation.com. Number 1, Baker Mayfield. Number 2, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Number 3, the left tackle, Jedrick Wills. So, Tim Bielek, when you look at that, Baker Mayfield, first and foremost, that goes without saying. I think people got a little carried away with Donovan Peoples-Jones. This is a guy that was a 6th-round pick. He's a developmental guy, so I think he does have the upside, but I don't think he was ever brought in to be the number 1 receiver this early in his career, or even the number 2 receiver.
No, I think the idea of saying he needs a bounce back is a little strong. I think maybe the way he performed in training camp was, everybody kind of got those expectations way up when you kind of had to realize that he's still developing. This is a season where he has to take another step. I did think he took that step. I thought he became a much better player. He showed more nuance in his game. I thought he was obviously better this year, but I just didn't think he was ready to be a number 1 or number 2. I think it was pretty clear after a few weeks that he definitely is better, but he's not ready to be a number 1. Maybe with another offseason he can be, but you saw the inconsistencies. There's still some rawness to his game that needs to be sharpened out over the offseason. But in my mind, that's not necessarily what I would call a bounce back for what he needs for 2022. It just needs to be continued improvement. For Baker and Jedrick Wills, I can definitely agree with those two, not so much on DPJ.
The thing that I'm curious with Jedrick Wills is how much of his struggles were because of that ankle. He hurt it early. They tried to have him play through it. For a young player, I get you want to be there for your teammates and you want to play, but a young guy that's working on technique at left tackle, he's only 1 year into playing left tackle. This was really the first time where he got extended practice time at left tackle because last year was virtual. I wonder, much like with Baker, I wonder if they regret having him try to fight through that early because he probably developed some bad habits.
Yeah, no question about it. When you're limited, you don't play the way you want to play because you have to compensate naturally for whatever is ailing you. And I mean, we saw in those games after when he tried to play through the ankle injury, he would always leave, in the second half, wouldn't come back. And I think wonder if this is a lesson to the coaches that maybe they need to be more conservative, when guys are injured. We saw that in training camp where they would sit guys. They were not afraid to rest players who had like little soft tissue injuries or whatever. They were conservative with them, but in the regular season, that wasn't the case. I mean, Baker ideally should have been shut down after the Arizona game, just for the rest of the season. And then you could have played with Case Keenum. You probably would have had a similar record. You wouldn't have had the same questions with Baker. It would change the narrative completely if you didn't have those last 11 games, of all those problems that showed up. And I think with Jedrick Wills, same kind of thing, but to a lesser extent. And that ankle injury, he had in Kansas City, I think obviously threw him off course. And for a young player, you need to have momentum. He never got that momentum.